Hey guys, Auntie again, spoken late, back in the house, and I'm full of a cold today, unfortunately. Hey, it's been one of those weeks where nothing happened. My dad's been took in hospital, and Amanda, my wife's younger sister's just given birth as well. So well done, Helen. You've given birth to a gorgeous baby girl, 11 pounds, Mabel, and hopefully my dad will be out of hospital soon as well. So, but we're over it to a part of the world tonight. Well, it may not be actually in that part of the world at the minute, but I've not been up this way for more bloody years than I care to admit, early in the Heights. But we're with a great guy here tonight. I've got to know him. Was it this year I met you, Chris, originally, or last year?
I first came in December, but I started reading in January.
January, I thought it was, yeah. I've got the fantastic Chris Platt with us. So he's been a regular at the Speakeasy now, all most of this year. And what's been brilliant is, and this is what I love here, is he's the only writer I've known that, well, apart from the last month or two, he usually brings his parents with him. And I've met most of his family who bring them to Speakeasy. And I think it's tremendous. Like, I've had my brother down once or twice to watch me at Speakeasy. And I'm hoping to get my nephew down there some point. Chris don't know, my nephew's 6'4", and
Wow.
he's a budding writer. He's brilliant. But my brother is a big reader. He's not a writer. And the last time I got my brother down, I lined up a poem inadvertently insulting him. So he never came again after that. So I don't know why. So anyway, this is about Chris Platt today. Been looking forward to this for a couple months now, mate. So now, Chris, obviously you're living up the Earlham Heights way nowadays, aren't you? But you're originally a Salford lad.
Well, it's actually Earlham
Oh,
inside.
I was Earlham, not other heights,
Yeah,
normally.
yeah, no, just Earlham.
Mm,
And originally from Eccles. And
mm.
when I married Sarah, I moved up the road to Earlham.
Ah, right. I get my fucking geography
It's
shite
all
again. Always.
Salford, still
Yeah.
Salford.
Yeah, I do, mate. Right, listen, Chris. Take us back in time then. We've got plenty of ground to cover you today, mate. And you sent me a very helpful bio over before, which left me gobsmacked on about 5 points, which is in a good way. So tell us about where all your creativity came from originally.
Well, it started when I was a kid. We've always been big readers. My mum and dad are both avid readers.
Mm.
And on a Saturday morning, we'd go around Eccles Library, me and my brother and my sister, my mum and dad, and we'd like spend hours in there choosing the books and everything, then spend the rest of the week reading them and everything. But also at school, when you'd get homework to you'd have to write a story. And that I just so enjoyed it that I found that I was doing it anyway for the fun of it. So all the other kids are groaning because they've got to write a story. I'm like, that's what I'll be doing anyway. I'll just bring in tonight's story and just hand it in the next day. But when I was reading a story, I'm like, oh, this would be good if this happened, or if I was reading a book that I wasn't particularly enjoying, I'd be like, well, it'd be better if this happened or if this happened. And I used to watch all the old Christopher Lee vampire films. So
Oh,
when I was a kid, I wrote hundreds and hundreds of vampire stories. Just and at one point, the teacher at primary school banned me from writing any more vampire stories. So yeah, true story.
like I like it, mate. I'll tell Amanda this later. She'll well like that. You got banned from writing horror stories.
Yeah,
So
but
who was your favourite writer then growing up? Then do you have a couple of favourite writers?
my favourite writer growing up, I'd say Roald Dahl because 80s kid, just as soon as the next one came out, and they were all a little bit twisted, a little bit dark, and just yeah. I don't think the parents quite knew what the stories were entailing, and all like even looking back now, I think some of them were pretty brutal, and I mean Georgie's Marvelous Medicine, all the twits. I mean,
Yeah.
even the actual book of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, where all the kids get bumped off in these weird ways. There's one of them that didn't make it into the film where the kid gets eaten alive by squirrels or taken away by squirrels or something. So it's all, yeah, very dark. And I think it was that kind of thing that inspired me when I was a kid.
Oh no, fair play, mate. Straight away with that. So now, as I said before, I know from what you've been telling me as well. Obviously, like since about 2004, haven't you? Which is over 20 years ago now. You've been writing at least one story a month, haven't you? So how have you found getting the discipline in that, doing that once a month? Hasn't that been quite easy or hard for you to do, is it?
To be honest, I started doing it. I work in shipping and I was on the European at the department. A lot of the European trades have a shutdown in the summer. So you're at the office, you've got nothing to do. It's sweltering at home, and I'm thinking, I was going out with Sarah at the time, my wife, and I wasn't seeing her every night. I'm thinking, well, I've got to do something. And I was thinking, well, I always used to enjoy writing the stories. So I wrote a story about, they say write what you know. So I wrote about a warehouse robbery because I work with warehouses and everything, you know.
Oh, brilliant, mate.
And then, to be honest, I put it down when the things got busier at work. And then about a month later, I read it back again. And I thought it'd be a shame if I didn't carry on. Because, I mean, the plot might have been full of holes, it might have been full of spelling mistakes, whatever. But you read it back and you think, that's actually quite good. Because, doing it for the process of it, I read it back, I was like, that's not bad. That's not, and so and plus I enjoy it as well,
No, you do. You can tell that with what I've read your work, I heard you read. You've definitely got a love for it straight away. And I think that's excellent, mate. You're writing for what you is a pleasure. And that's why me and Amanda both like you, because you can tell you're enjoying what you're writing. That means a lot to me. And we're the same ourselves, in different ways. So completely. Now, there's quite a few things I want to learn about today. I know you submit your stories, don't you, to a website called the Writers Club. So tell us about the Writers Club then, and how you came across this website, because I know they put a lot of your stories on there, don't they?
Yeah, I put them on a couple of websites. One of them is the Writers Club, which on the Writers Club, you have to submit your stories. You don't post it, you submit it, and then you find out the following Saturday whether you've got on. You subscribe to the email, and they give you a list of all the stories. So I started doing that during lockdown, and you send your story off, and I was like, there's a bit of a drum roll of a Saturday afternoon. You get the email like, yes, so on. And yeah, and then after a few stories, they made me a member, which is like that you get posted, you get like kind of like more promoted and things. You get, and there's an even membership pages and things and all that. But I also put them on a website called Storystar. And again, on that website, I'm often star of the week or star of the day, and they mostly get 5 stars. You know what I mean? Which is great considering I'm just literally making it up as I go along. It's just dead nice.
Oh no, I agree with you completely, man. Oh, tremendous, mate, of it. So no, that's fair play to you straight away with that, because you're enjoying doing it. I said to you. So I found as well. I wanted a few more. Has there been one story that's been a massive hit on this website? She's saying to me as well.
Yeah, there's one. Well, I put a story on a website, and the story's called "Escaped." You might also have it down on somewhere as "The Escaped Man." But yeah, I put this on this website, a Booksy website, where I first started putting my stories on. And somebody got in touch, a few people got in touch saying, I work in education. Would you mind if I read this story to my students? I'm like, yeah, brilliant, go for it. Somebody else got in touch. So it turned out it's gone quite viral. If you search CPlatt, The Escaped Man, there's all manner of people reading it out on YouTube. It's like, yeah, and in fact, I was also approached by a guy in Austria who wanted to make a short film of it. And so he actually went away and made this film of my story, which blew me mind. And it's just like, hang on a minute, that's my dialogue. And at the end, it comes up based on the short story by Chris Platt. He's just like,
Unbelievable, mate.
yeah, it's just like things you never thought I'd never see happen.
Yeah, that is truly is unbelievable, mate. Absolutely amazing, mate. Completely. So respect you that one, mate. Straight away. Yes, that would blow my head completely, like it did to you, mate. Straight away with that. God Almighty! Wow. Now, I'm going to move on as well, because there's oops, careful, careful. Yes. Now you tell me about as well that you got approached to write a Western novel. So I want to learn about this, because I've just got into writing the Western genre, and this will happen. Will it? I know. An October Speakeasy. I'm going to read out an extract from a Western story I've had published
Wow.
recently.
Wow.
But mine's an erotic Western story. So your mum better come along to this, because it's going down very well. Yeah, it gets a bit raunchy. But I'm interested to know where did the love for Westerns come from? Do you like reading Westerns?
I'm not so much reading, to be honest. I read obviously Zane Grey
Yeah.
and the book of I think it's called Gone for Texas, the original outlaw
Oh,
country Wales.
yes. Yeah,
I love
great
that.
book.
but I love all the Clint Eastwood and even the John Wayne films. All that. And my wife says I've got a head full of magic, but I'm always getting these ideas for stories and things. And like we were away when we go away to like Mallorca or Tenerife, and you're looking out across the sandy countryside. I could just imagine a fella on horseback riding along, and I get all these ideas for westerns. So it's usually I get all the ideas when I'm away on my holidays, thinking I'm going to write a western while we're away, and yeah, but I started putting them on these websites, and then I got approached by a guy who said he's a Western publisher. He wants to put, would I write a Western? He loves me Western short stories. He put them on his website and said, "Would you write a novel for me?" I'm like, "Yeah, can do." So I wrote a Western and he published it, and yeah, that was that there.
Oh, wow. Wow. Excellent stuff,
Yeah.
mate. Now, people are wondering today, obviously, we're on the video side here, but Chris, for people that are listening as an audio podcast, what's the book called? Just so people can check it out.
But it's not available anymore.
Oh,
I've put loads of stuff. I've put loads of stuff on Amazon, but I mean, the guy that published it, this was in 2018, 2019, I think. I got a letter saying he was taking it down after so long. And to be honest, I think he was an old fella, so I think I got the impression he was wrapping things up kind of thing, you know. But but yeah, so unfortunately it is no longer available. So if you have got a copy, it's a collector's item. And yeah, I don't know if you, yeah, I don't know if you can see, but yeah, my mum and dad get me to sign all the copies as well.
The book's called Charlie Burton, was it? Did I read them?
Charlie Barton.
Charlie Barton. Yeah.
I put in all local place names around here just for my own amusement. So there's like, you know, there's like a Peel Green in me Western and all these kind of things that the American audience have no idea, but people are reading it going, Peel Green's not in Missouri, you know, and I just put all these little, you know, little Easter eggs, I think they call them. But
definitely Easter eggs, brilliant stuff, mate. No, I'd like to have read that as well. So, but anyway, yeah, okay, yeah, and also the fact that you told me like they're giving the character Barton obviously is a nod to the area you grew up in.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. I mean, just where in Aylmer, Barton Airport's on the way, and there's like, yeah, and there's Barton Lane and Barton Road because I thought, oh, Barton, and it just kind of fits. Except I think the Americans have pronounced it slightly differently than Charlie Barton all the way I Charlie Barton, yeah.
Now, I obviously moved back a bit more nearer time in 2022. You did a second novel, didn't you, as well, which was very loosely based on your friends and growing up in Salford in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, I got this. I did this one novel, and then I was obviously doing the one story a month and everything. And like the novel always seemed this like almost like this holy grailish thing that like I'd not quite got. Now I'd done the Western novel, but I was told to write this one. I just wanted to see if I could do it again, and I got this idea, like you say, for just growing up, because growing up in the 80s and the 90s kind of thing. I mean, and again, the fact that Oasis had just got back together just proves the interest for that period. So yeah, I just wrote a story loosely based on me growing up in my childhood, and that isn't on Amazon anymore. But when it was, that's a Salford song, and that's yeah, that's just about growing up in just ordinary northern town, really.
Yeah, brilliant stuff, mate. Indeed, there again. So, was that quite a different process to writing a total fiction book?
It was a bit weird. It's a bit, yeah, it was weird. It was a blend of the two because I was putting a lot of the background details and these little things of the real world, and like the shop, he gets his school uniforms from, the teachers launching the board dusters at him, and all these other little bits from the actual childhood, but then like weaving in a story as well, plus with all like the 90s and 80s and 90s backdrop in it as well. So yeah, it was an interesting write.
Yeah, I'm always a believer in anything you write, particularly longer projects. It's a reaction to the previous projects. So I think you've done a brave move there, even though they're not available now, actually having the guts to go back and do a second one completely different from the first. So I think it's Great idea.
If you don't know, I made pennies from Amazon. It was,
Oh,
I put about a newspaper in the morning.
yeah, join the club, mate. I've got a few books on there. You know what I'm saying? You make tuppence of them, basically. So
But I
indeed,
must admit, the main reason for me doing it was so I could get it in paperback. That was just,
Mm,
when you get that through the door, it's just a little,
mm.
just, yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with you completely, mate, of it. So indeed. Now, I've got to know you this year for your poetry, really.
Yeah.
And what it's a good story, so I want you to tell people about what drew you to writing poetry.
Well, to be honest, we've been into the writing thing since I was a kid. I've always admired the poetry as an art form and as writing. I've watched documentaries and things and everything, and it was just. And if there was, if there was ever a program on TV, I'd watch it. And obviously, I come from Salford, so Dr. John Cooper Clark's like just a hero around here. So it's one of them. He was the kind of guy that said, if he could do it and he's come from where we come from, you think, I'll have a go at that myself. And his poetry was so inspiring, so brilliant, just really packed a punch. You think, what mind I go at that myself. And then it's about this time last year, I'd had a really bad day at work, and like I stopped off at the Trafford Centre on the way home, and I popped into the bookshop with no intention, just mooching around, and I was drawn to the poetry section, and like there was this book called "Staying Alive" by Blood Axe Books, and
Oh, it's a great book, that. Oh,
amazing. And I was flicking through it, and it blew me away. And after that, I was thinking, well, you write stories, you sit down and you put these words in order. Could you do it with poetry? And I had a go, and I'm still blagging it 12 months later. So, you know.
I like it, mate. I like to the way you blag it as this. That's it. I've got it's an old-fashioned word, and I can relate to that one as well. So now, obviously, then I know you said before, told us about how you got into poetry yourself, and I think it's a great story out what happened in September 23 last year. After a particularly stressful day at work, you went down to what a certain famous bookshop in the Trafford Centre, didn't you?
Yeah, and like I say, my head was banging, and like just,
Mm,
you're just aching, and you're just like,
yeah,
yeah, right. And so, like you say, I went into the bookshop thinking I'll get myself a thriller, maybe just, whatever, just maybe get myself a notebook and some pens for my stories. And it was almost like, from a film, it's like, it was like the poetry section, like, and like you say, I'm flicking through this Staying Alive, and it was like a revelation, to be fair, and I've just not looked back since. And I enjoy the reading the poetry as much as the writing it. I
yeah,
really enjoy like your Dylan Thomas and all these kind of people. Just buzz off it all. Just
yeah,
really enjoying discovering it.
yeah. No, it's great, mate. Now, obviously, I said we've got to know each other through Speak Easy this year. I don't know this. I'm intrigued to know, how did you find out about Speak Easy?
Well, I searched on the internet, poetry events in Manchester,
Mm.
and this one come up. It was just the Dulcimer on a Thursday, and I also played a ukulele, and
Oh, did you? Oh,
I
wow.
used to, I used to play in Charlton Ukulele Group in the Dulcimer, so I knew exactly where it was. Was used to go in there on a Thursday night, and I was like, hang on a minute, I know where that is. I think I'll get there. And I don't. The first night I went there in December last year, I'd been determined to go, but for one reason or another, I couldn't get there in the October, couldn't get there in the November. December, I was going. And on the December, it was lashing down. And I walked from work, the rain was running off me, but I'd barely just dried out when the evening started. It was almost, Chris, the damp fella who was stood at the back last week, honestly, I was soaked to the skin that first night, but I made it. And funnily enough, I I watched it all on the first night, and I was just blown away. It was
Yeah,
just to see all these people getting up and reading the poetry, and how welcome everyone was made to feel. And it was a couple of days later, in the middle of the night, these things pop in your head in the middle of the night. It was like you should have a go at that and read your stuff. And they're like, no, I just want these crazy ideas that come to you in the middle of the night. The next morning, I was thinking, why don't you? There's nothing to lose. They're so welcoming. And I don't know anybody up there, so it's not like I could be making a fool myself by reading my awful poetry. So yeah, so the next thing I put my name down and turned up on the 4th of January, whatever it was, and
Yeah. No, it's not stopped you since yet, mate. So no, it's been a pleasure having you there, John, you, mate. So now I think it's a great start. I want to learn about, obviously, less recently, because I know your mum, for various reasons, have been make sure your mum and dad can't always make it at the moment. But what made your parents want to come along with you?
Well, that is a very good question because they always tell me that they're not really into poetry and they don't really do poetry. And my dad doesn't like it unless it rhymes. And I read some of mine that doesn't rhyme. And he's like, yeah, it's all right, but it doesn't rhyme, Christopher, this kind of thing. But when I said I was going, they were like, oh, we're up for that. What night is it on? Right, we'll see you in there. I'm like, oh, right, okay. And they've been my #1 fans ever since, really. Just my dad keeps threatening to heckle me, but he's been my #1 fan since, really.
Yeah, and you brought your uncle along with you once, am I imagining things? Haven't you brought an uncle along, didn't you?
Yes, we did. Yeah, he's into his poetry as well. I mean, he only came the once, so he's clearly not a fan of mine.
No.
But no, I mean, my mum and dad love it, and they have such a good night. And again, they always come away having had a really good night, and how they always say how welcoming everyone is. And I can't praise the speakeasy enough. Honestly, it's been amazing.
Yeah,
and the three of us look forward to it each month.
Yeah, always a pleasure having you, mate. It's ironic when you came along for the December one last year. That was one of my busiest nights we've had ages. Sometimes in December, people are busy with Christmas dues and getting ill all the time. And that one we didn't. Because I remember it well. We had about 70 to 75 people there queued up all the way down the stairs. And
right, that's right.
I fully remember you coming up to me, introduce yourself to me, and I had to encourage you to read the next month. And it was brilliant.
Well, great. Yeah, when you first said, he said, have you come to read? I'm like, no, I'm not come to read. I'm just going to sit at the back and just keep my mouth shut,
Well, that's not going to happen with me around you, I tell you now, people wondering. I will my view and I will my view. So, but yeah,
here we are.
With a smile, of course, basically, mate. So now, obviously, nowadays, I know you've been regularly in Speakeasy this year, just doing poetry. Have you found it? Do you still get time to do your stories more on a monthly basis?
Oh yeah, I do. I write. I'm always writing a story. I mean, I finished one this afternoon, and in my lunch hour because I make all these ideas and then I write them down and then I type them up. So you kind of always inadvertently get 3 drafts. But no, I'm always writing stories. I'm always getting ideas for. You watch a drama on the telly and you think, oh, that was about a ghost that was haunting a railway station. Hang on a minute. What if this, and this? A bit like Stephen King said. He said, if there was no Dracula, there'd be no Salem's Lot. And that's it. You get an idea from this, and that's. But no, I always do my stories. That's. I kind of. They kind of. I find that they're both two halves of the same coin. You'll get an idea and you're like, no, that'll suit more a story, or that'll suit more a poem, and. It's, instead of writing random short stories, I'll think, oh, I'll chop that up and that'll make a nice poem, you see.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think you do when you're doing poetry and stories, they are very similar. But I think it's you learn to switch your brain off into different directions, aren't you, in doing one or the other? And I want to know your opinion on this as well, is when you've mastered one creative discipline, do you find it easy to crack on with a second one like poetry?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say I've mastered the story, but I just keep doing it. I just keep writing, and I do the same with the poetry. It's just I don't think, for example, if I decided I wanted to learn how to paint, I think I'd struggle, or I'd learn how to sculpt or whatever. But because it's a similar craft and and you write in stanzas instead of paragraphs, but what it has made, and I was only thinking this afternoon, that in a way, before I started writing poems, when I was writing a story, it'd be all about painting the picture and this. I find that since I started writing poems, I'm more selective about the words I use. It's like, oh no, this would flow better. So I find that my prose has more of a poetic kind of feel to it than before I started writing the poems. It's almost like they've rubbed off on each other.
Yeah, no, I agree with you completely. I think it does because they do cross over a lot.
Yeah.
Particularly, I've got in writing stories the last couple of years. I've certainly found it where they invade the other medium. I
Yes.
mean to sometimes. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, definitely. So, where do you wrapping up part one here? Starting to wrap up a bit now. Where do you envisage your creativity taking you next? Do you have any plans?
To be honest, the only plan at the minute is to carry on writing the stories, but I've been doing the stories for one after the other for 20 years, and my focus is to keep on going with that, but to get more to grips with the poetry and just to see where this takes me. And because, like you say, I only started writing the poems this time last year, and here we are. So I mean, I'm quite excited to see what happens now. You know, just obviously carry on with the speakeasy, but yeah, and just to see where we go from here. Just keep on going, keep writing one poem after another, and seeing where we end up. Really.
That's why, mate. It's enjoy it. It's enjoyment for me. So, yeah, I agree with you. Now, if people want to track you down on social media, I know you got. I don't know how you want people to contact you, but I do know you're around. If people want to track you down,
Yeah, I'm not really that au fait with it, to be quite honest. I just, I tell you what, I tell you where people can see my stuff on. To be honest, I'm a technophobe. As you saw about the emails and this Zoom thing, I'm an absolute technophobe. But you can find my stuff on. You can find my. Yeah, right. I tell you, here we go. Right, you can find me on a website called Storystar. And I'm under my name on there is CPlatt, and you can find me on the Writers Club. And if you search for the Writers Club Grey Thoughts, I'm down there as Chris Platt. And my poems, I put my poems on a website called My Poetic Side. But on that website, everyone has these pen names and things. So I chose the name Tom Dillon, which is a play on my favourite Dylan Thomas, you see. So I think it's people there that do predict my real name. And I signed everything, oh, nice, enjoyed the poem, Tom. And I'm like, that's near enough, because everyone's got all these weird and wonderful Blue Bottle 73, so I'm Tom Dillon on there. So yeah, that's My Poetic Side, and you can find all my poems on there.
brilliant. No, I like that, mate. Very, very you that one straight away. So,
You know,
right, well, wrap up part one here, mate. So, what we'll do is everyone will take a quick break, and we shall back in 2 shakes of the dice when Chris is going to do a few pieces for us. It's been great fun, mate. I've really enjoyed this.
I really enjoyed it. Thank you for having me.
Right, see everybody in 2 moments.